blessed, fortunate, compassionate, loving, vibrations. We want to apologize for the little delay on getting live. We were having a little technical difficulties, but we are here. And I want to welcome again, as always, Barbara Grace, here to share, a higher perspective of energy from the source of, the source of our higher perspective. And I appreciate the opportunity to again get the opportunity to share and hold and share space with you. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's a
That's good.
beautiful day.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's always your answer. So I know that it's factual because you have to be consistent to have those kind of days and everything. Okay, so we're here about breaking the chains and freeing yourself from tension of the past. And because of a lot of us are going through things that are present and past, and the past seems to be what haunts us the most because as the present go, we're dealing with it because we have to. But a lot of things in the present, I realize that we're dealing with come from the past, things we haven't already dealt with. So I wanted to get some perspective from from your higher self and the way you bring the collective together, and just ask a couple of few questions based upon just that. What are some of the things and how it applies, and these are some of the questions. So that's basically what it is.
Okay.
Okay, so just for the first question, it's when someone holds onto the tensions of the past, how are they unintentionally imprisoning themselves in a story that no longer serves them?
Well, part of your answer is in your question because you said they are holding on to the tensions of the past, which means they are reliving those tensions over and over and over. It's only by letting go that you can truly move forward in your life. Because as long as you're holding on, you're not going anywhere.
That makes all the sense.
So we always encourage everyone to let go. And even if you don't know how to let go anyway. And if you want to just imagine it, or if you want to just get a piece of paper, ball it up, and hold it in your hand and let it go. That's all there is to it. It doesn't have to be complicated. It's just a matter of letting go.
Just finding some way to do that, because like we were saying before in another meeting that we had, we're creators, so it's very easy to create and to do, but it's the hardest part is to decide to make that decision. So letting go, and that's why I asked the question like that, because I know it will get to the core of what it is, because I realize exactly that, and that's a confirmation to what I already know, but what I know asking from a perspective of others getting the opportunity to feel it. It makes all the sense because we are the ones controlling the narrative. I totally do appreciate that. Okay, the next question is, what hidden attachments keep a person tied to their past pain? Attachments to being right, to being seen, to being validated, or how can attachments like that cost you your peace?
People have a variety of attachments. Some people have an attachment to being in control, which means they think that they are the ones who are making the world the way that it is. But when you have
I'm not sure if you can hear me, but
a
right when you
hump,
said the attachments, the signal went out to where I'm not hearing what you're saying. So let me redirect that. Let me see if I could refresh something here. Which once we're not live, I'll be able to take this part out. But let me see if I can refresh something to get you back um, current. Okay, there you
Okay,
I
can you
can
hear
hear
me
you
now?
clearly now. So if you could, restart the answer to that question because it literally stopped. It started doing the thing right after you started answering.
That people have an attachment to their comfort zone, the things that they're with, and they don't want to experience anything outside of that comfort zone. And so they keep themselves in that narrow little pathway, even though what they want is over here and they can't get it because they are right here. Some people don't want to be seen, they don't want to be heard, they don't want to be known. And so they don't do anything that allows anyone else to feel that energy of them or allows their lives to change. Some people are always trying to please other people. People pleasers are always keeping themselves contained because they believe that they have to do that in order for other people to love them. We we see so many different things that people do to keep their lives small, to diminish their power, their light. And as long as you do that, you're not allowing change.
Hmm. Yeah, that is the balance. How does every replaying of the past keep someone from being able to fully experience life and that is trying to unfold for them, like right now?
As long as you are replaying what has already happened, then you are reliving that, re experiencing that, recreating that for you. It's like someone who is grieving and they are going through that time when they are just stuck in the energy of, I miss this person. This person is gone. And that's all they think about, that's all they feel. And for them, that death is just as recent as it was when it first happened, because that is the energy that they are staying in. Other people have moved on and, gotten on with their lives. But for them, they're still in that it feels a lot like despair over the death of someone that they loved. So if you keep thinking about what's already happened, you keep going through it in your mind, you keep analyzing it, figuring out what was wrong or right or whatever the heck it is you're figuring out, then that's all that you're experiencing. Because God doesn't make you move forward, God doesn't make you change, God doesn't make you do anything. You have free will. And that's complete free will. If you have decided that your life is going to be an absolute mess and you are never going to have anyone and no one's ever going to love you and you are always going to be wallowing in despair or whatever it is you've chosen, God says, okay, that's what you want. Go for it. So people who are always saying, well, one day God's going to change my life. No, one day you are going to allow your life to change,
Mm,
because God is always giving you openings for changing your life. Most people don't see them because they are stuck in what they believe is happening.
mm. Indeed. Are there any patterns of tension that have become so similar that a person might mistake them as a part of their identity?
Lots of people have beliefs about themselves that are not true. There are some people that will tell you, my life never works. That's their belief. That's what they have decided. And that is what they keep creating over and over and over. There are some people that will tell you, I can't find someone who will actually love me. And if they really looked at themselves, they would find that the person who doesn't really love them is them.
Indeed.
Because if you don't love yourself, you don't allow other people to love you. You don't allow love into your life if you don't feel that you deserve it. So it really comes back to what you believe and who you are creating yourself to be. And that determines what you experience. So if you want to be happy and healthy, be happy and healthy. Be what it is you are looking for. That's how you find it.
Indeed. Indeed. Well, most of the time people say, true freedom requires surrender. What false sense of control must someone be willing to release to finally move forward? Especially when, we're stuck with the idea of being free or not, or even having a conscious connection to what the idea may even vibrate like.
When it comes to surrender, people have different concepts and beliefs about the whole surrender thing. If you watched all the movies and people wave the white flags and we surrender and blah, blah, blah. And most people don't actually surrender. They simply say, okay, I'm going to let go of this much of it, but this much I'm hanging on to. But I'm surrendering this much, and that should make a difference. And it usually doesn't, because you've still got all of this. When you surrender, you have to let go of all of it. You have to let it go. You have to let go of the whole concept of you being in control or the need to be in control. You have to truly let it go. It's like some parents when their children go off to college, and they pack them up and move them out of the house, and they're like, oh, and then they call them several times. Okay, how you do? Actually let the child go out there and do what's going to be horrible. Some of it may end them up in jail. They know what it's like to be. They've been there, and they're trying to protect that child, even though they're telling the child, okay, I'm letting you go.
Yeah.
And some of their parents never let them go. And when their parents die, they're like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? Because they don't know how to live their own lives.
Indeed. Indeed, that's a whole nother top podcast, to be honest, because it's true. That's very, very true. I find myself just every day having a situation that clears my spectrum or my perspective of more awareness. I have to constantly be more and more aware because, just like you said, our intention, our will, what we so-called command for them is not what they allow into their experience all the time. And if it's not an allowing, if that specific, universal law is not in place, it's nothing that can be done for us to force it upon, anything or anyone. So I've got that first and foremost. I feel that to be very true. It's just like that. We're responsible for us, and all we do. We're responsible for it. So it just goes back to that. You're responsible for, like they say, that really goes to the concept of what they say, let go and let God. You know what I'm saying? And then the other thing, like really, really, it complements so well is the fact of projection. Like you say, if they're not willing to surrender all, it's like you really not surrendering anything. And that's the same thing with looking at the fact of, all of things being on you specifically, and you taking responsibility, but knowing that if I'm projecting out, if I'm creating everything out and I'm projecting out no love, then it's impossible for me to receive love because everything outside of me is me. So I'm just projecting what I truly am. And you're right. All I'm going to get is exactly what it is. And it's going to feel some kind of way when you're unconscious of it, truly, because I'm a living, walking receipt of being in that space and, dealing with, preteens and pre-grown-ups and grown-ups even, so it's a process we all have to come to terms with. But I agree, it's going to take, full-fledged. That's another reason why that question was asked the way it was as well, because in order to finally move forward, it's going to be, you're going to have 100,000% surrender and perspective of knowing that all is well, so what would it take for someone to stop asking, why this happened to me? And, instead, what can be built from, what they try, what they what tried to break me? Okay. So how can someone, really take something and that they know has been trying, the fastest way for them to make that thing be the catalyst for their, for their growth?
One of the things that most people are taught is to look for the problem. When anything happens, they are looking for the problem. And as long as you are looking for the problem, you are in the problem.
You are the
So if
problem.
you want to,
Yeah.
well, yes, in most cases, you are the problem because what is being reflected back is you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you are looking at the world and thinking, oh my gosh, the world is awful, it's full of chaos, more than likely you're full of chaos.
Your world is full of chaos, right? That's yeah.
Exactly. And so start allowing yourself to see how you can benefit. We're trying to find the wording to put this because we don't want to make it seem like you should see a disaster on TV and imagine, oh, I could benefit by doing this, this, and this. Although there's nothing wrong with that. But when it comes down to your personal life and what's happening in your life, let's say you're having a conflict with one of the members of your family, and you think that they should do this, and they think that they should do that, and you are sure that you are right and they are wrong. As long as you are in that energy where you are right and they are wrong, that conflict is going to stay there. And they are not going to be willing to listen to you because you are presenting yourself as, I am right. You should listen. People don't respond to that because you are basically saying, you're stupid. Shut up and listen to me. I know what I'm talking about. No one's going to accept that. Little kids don't accept that. And yet we
especially,
still try to shove that down their throats.
especially little kids.
Yes.
Yeah,
Little
yeah.
kids are very wise. You know, they
Yeah,
haven't learned all of the things that we get taught about. This is how you should behave. This is how you should think. This is how
they
you
haven't
should be.
lost all of their
They are
power strip. Yeah.
exactly, they are still in that point of looking at it and saying, this doesn't make any sense. And then we, the adults, say, you should listen to your elders.
Indeed,
No,
indeed.
we should listen to the little kids.
Yeah, well, that's I learned that the right way because I have had small children around me most of my you know father life in the sense of when I've grown up because I know when I became a father, it's like when I really took this thing. Now, life I've always taken serious. I don't want to be overstood with that, but at the same time, really you take things serious when you have a child. You know what I'm saying? When you take serious the fact that you're responsible for that child, and then you realize that you don't own that child, you're responsible to that child as a cooperative component. So, because I learned that early on, hey, listen, when you have more than one or two, and it boys, and you say like you have two or three girls, two or three boys, what works with the first one does not work with the second and third. It's not the same, and if they're in different generational categories, levels, it's really all different. It really applies different. I'm a living witness that is factual. That is not something that I got receipts for that. So that's a fact. But at the same time, not but at the same time, I realize that you must be conscious and aware of how you're, presenting yourself for them to even have anything to listen or trust the fact that you're going to be worthy of, like them trusting you. Because it is real about them having opportunities to see and trust others over you, before you. You know what I'm saying? Because all of the peers that they have access to, and you're right, it's not that doesn't work. I'm right and you're wrong. I learned not to present it in a wrong fashion and me being right. I present it in a balanced fashion of knowing, that giving them the opportunity to know you're creating your experience, and these are the results you get to it. You can take it as wrong or right if you want, but in the balance of the universe, when you, like you said, when you're thinking a certain thing, you're holding certain things, you're getting exactly what you're, projecting. And because it's you projecting, it's your choice and everything is yours, that's the way. But I'm grateful for the confirmation, and I'm grateful to know that you confirmed what I already have impacted my children with, in the sense of, like, free thinking. You know, I could tell you that I've been right about the things that I have gone through for myself because I've been wrong first, and I had to go through it to become right about it, overstanding that I had to learn from it. That was not me being right to begin with. That was me learning how to, take the wisdom or take the experience and create a learning point and let it be wisdom from my experience. And that's when I became right, because I left the fact of me thinking that I don't know. I do know. I do know. I know that I have to be prepared to digress my thoughts, my energy, and all of that when I don't really know at that moment, or when I don't have the answer at that moment. And my children put me in space on it. You know what I'm saying? They put me in a space where I've had to, consciously, right at the moment, realize I'm projecting out. This is my child. This is me in my child form. And that's the part of me I don't necessarily like, but they're pointing it out because it's a good part of me that I don't like, and I need to see it. I have to see it in order to increase my value, increase their value, to respect me for changing, or identifying, and then giving them some kind of way to look at it. But I agree, it's no, you don't get the opportunity to tell somebody they're wrong. It does make them feel like, they're stupid. I was listening to Abraham Hicks one time, and Abraham said that it's the time that you don't the time that the best time to bring information to a person is when they're not, involved with an agreement or a disagreement of it, because no one wants to hear what they don't want to hear at the time you're telling them what they don't want to hear. So you could be right about it, could be dead right about it, and in the universal perspective, but that's not how the universe works with that. When you're dealing with human beings, they have a right to not even comply to that law, because we're free. We have a free process of thought. So yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that confirmation. Who might a person become if they stop defining themselves by the things they survived, but instead started defining themselves by the healing they chose?
Well, that's a completely different person, because then they realize that how they feel in each moment is up to them. And if they want to go through life being distraught and having all the trauma and drama, then that is what they will experience. But if they decide to go through life being loving, compassionate, happy, And that is the energy that they will be putting out, and that is the energy that will be coming back. Because what you send out into the world is what you bring back. You always attract what you are. And so if your life is always filled with mishaps and problems, and that's what you are. That's what you're putting out there, and that's what you're getting back.
Indeed. Confirmation.
I I had a client who wanted her life to change. Now, this client is in her 70s, so she's been living the way she's been living for over 70 years. And I was guided to, the first thing to do was to do some forgiveness work on her, because that forgiveness work allows you to let go. And you have to let go in order to have anything new come in. It's like if your hands are full and you want something more, where are you going to put it? So you've got to let go first. And we did the work on her letting go. And she was upset because her life did not instantly change. Now, it did change in small ways. But we're talking over 70 years of garbage that she's been putting in. We didn't let go of 70 years of garbage, or she would have just been sitting there going, because you can't really just let go of everything at once. But it's hard to get people to understand that change is a process, and sometimes it takes a longer time. Now, each change that you do is making a change in your life. But if you want to see some humongous change, you've got to consistently let go. It's not something you can just do once. You've got to do it and get rid of all of those layers that you've put there throughout your life.
Has to become a ritual. Just like getting up, brushing your teeth, washing your face, bathing, and things of that nature. It has to become, somewhat of a ritual in the sense of, using for spiritual awareness, like keeping yourself like cleansed spiritually and in a certain vibration, or at least have access to that vibration regularly, because we're going to be thrown different curves and different, different variations of things to deal with. So, yeah, in the sense of that, I get it. It's just a process of being conscious and being like present. Everything is still present. It's like, it seems to me that as long as you do your best to be present and realize that everything has to happen the way it has to happen according to how you're seeing it, how you're, projecting it, whether or not you believe in these scientific laws or anything. It's just the way things are set up, and it's the way things will go based upon, if you work out a little bit, you're going to get a little improvement. You work out a lot, you get a lot of improvement. It's just everything goes in a way like that. You go up, you must come down. You go down, you more than likely must come up, because it is you're one way or the other. You know what I'm saying? So, in which situation does clinging to resentment, guilt, or regret feel safer than facing an uncertainty of life without those old tensions?
You cling to those when you're afraid. You're afraid that if you let them go, what you end up with will be worse than what you have. And so you cling to something that doesn't feel good. And it doesn't feel good. But it's better to, live what you know than to take a chance, because you don't know what's going to happen.
The unknown.
That's one of the beautiful things about doing the forgiveness work, is that when you find yourself feeling the resentment or whatever negative emotion you're feeling, forgive that. In that moment, you recognize, this is how I feel. and you work and you forgive it and you let it go, then the fear goes away too. And then you can allow whatever is coming to you to come to you. And if you find that what's coming to you is not what you want to experience, then you can forgive that. And again, you're letting go. And you may have to keep letting go, several times before you actually reach that point of feeling at peace with your own life. And then once you feel at peace, you are radiating peace and you are receiving peace.
Indeed.
But you have to, like you said, you have to be aware. And you have to take the actions to make the changes in the moment. It's not something that, at 7 o'clock every evening, I'm going to go through and I'm going to let go of everything. Well, why on earth would you go through your whole day feeling like crap, waiting until 7 o'clock before you can feel better?
Indeed.
You can let go in the moment.
That's it. The confirmation again, just knowing that we do control our, future perspective now in the now by being in the now a certain way energetically. Like we're going to get the response of how we see it and how we feel in general. That's just pretty much what it is, because it's very, very interesting that, a lot of us are caught in the basic vibration of default. You know what I mean? Because that's the one that is promoted the most. And until something happens, until we go experience something that actually will change the perspective. But I know that's what we're all here for, to have these experiences so we can have a different view of it, have our opinions of it and everything. But being present is very important, and just knowing that we are the deciding factor. What is some? And one thing you said about that fear, I really, because the next question was about fear, but it's interesting that what I've noticed is we have fear of the unknown. True, as you said, we also have unknown fears. We don't realize that that's fear. We might turn it up as anger, but it's really fear. We might turn it up as sadness, but it's really fear. It's like a lot of us don't have the proper proper designation to to identify what we're really afraid, because a lot of us have been put in a vicarious positions, especially as as men and as melanated men especially, and then melanated men is even more especially, that we have to react and act in turn and out of turn. Sometimes we have to act out of turn to defend certain things that we wouldn't even attempt to do because of the position we put ourselves in, not realizing, you know what I'm saying? We have loved ones we care for. We go on the name of loved ones, we do stuff thinking, not realizing that it's all vibrational. And if they're in a vibrational perspective, no matter what you do, it's going to look like that you did something to them, no matter how you attempt to help them, if it's set up for them to not be in vibrational alignment with that. So I've had to really come to terms with that part. That part is really special too, because that's where you recognize the love. I'm talking about from people close to you. The closest people to you are the ones that I feel like are the ones that raise you up the most. Especially me as a father, my children, have really helped me, assisted me to really, get to that. You know what I'm saying? If someone could see that breaking free from the past isn't about forgetting what happened, but about remembering who they are beyond it, how would that change things for them?
Well, if you are remembering the benefits, if you are remembering the lessons, if you are remembering the beautiful feelings that came as a result of you letting go, then why on earth would you spend all of your time reliving? You don't need to relive. You need to be. And so if you want more love in your life, then be more love. Be more loving to others. Be more, because it's not just about what you give to the world. And so many light workers are in that thought pattern that everything matters as far as what they are giving to the world. And they're forgetting about themselves. God never asks us to bend over backwards for the world. God said, be who you truly want to be. Allow yourself to experience that joy, that abundance, that love, whatever it is you really want to experience. And then share with others. But in order to share, you've got to receive. And in order to receive, you have to be okay with you.
Indeed. Indeed. Being responsible for you as creation. It comes to a big, I can assist with that part by saying this from my own experience. When one decides to be responsible for themselves as creation, you can't do nothing but love yourself, because you know that as creation, you are the source. As creation, you're the source, and you just chose to mold yourself into whatever, entity you decided to come here as at this time, because you wanted to have the freedom to experience, and then, be able to control the narrative, in the sense of, or not even control the narrative, but experience the narrative and allow it to be, so that you can feel what it feels like to be free in a sense. And that, because really coming to terms with what love here is physically, it's like you really have to feel like you're taking an ass whooping and not doing anything about it. But it's really not taking an ass whooping. It's really, kind of sacrificing the false emotion that comes with the pain that you think that is there. And it's not really that, you know what I mean? So I can confirm that that is factual, in the sense of, as soon as we get in touch with the idea that we are responsible for everything. And it's easy, because some of us, I'm responsible for myself as a man. I'm responsible for myself as a father. I'm responsible for myself as a husband. It's a little deeper than that. I'm saying, as yourself, as creation. Like, well, do you think the creator that gave you that is going to really, knowing that you are oneness of the creator, put that kind of judgment on you, knowing that I'm just having my own experience, but I'm having it independently from a place of all different ways I can do this, and just loving the fact that it's freedom like that. And those of us who really realize that even after the fact, is like we can tap into that, and it's really real like that. So yeah, that's what I feel like is necessary. And we were talking, you were speaking about the forgiveness, and the forgiveness is your thing. And I know that that's the thing that actually assisted me to get to where I am, because I came to point of forgiving myself after going through so many things that I was responsible for, but things I felt I necessarily was not responsible for, but because it's me projecting out, I am. And I don't have a way out of, getting around that, unless I'm accepting and realizing that I have to forgive myself. And you made a very good point, because in my whole lifetime, I remember even the adults saying, I'm gonna forgive you, but I ain't gonna forget that shit. Like, I'm gonna forgive you, but I ain't. So you were saying, like, the biggest thing about that is the key to forgiving is forgetting. I know that it's a very important perspective of knowing what we're having to do is figure out a way to present triggers to make allow or assist someone to get immediately, as soon as they decide that in their true state of the I am, that I forgive, it erases the energy of the perspective. So I'm going to focus on that. I'm going to focus on what way I can bring the energy up to par with that part from what I do. Like, because that's it. I'm thinking about something I dealt with just with one of my young kings yesterday that really channeled the different perception of how I have to move. Like, I love my seeds. I love them. I have so much, so much in my heart protection for them, and all of the things that I know that I can do. At the same time, I understand that this is their perspective. I don't want to make it seem as if they have to do what I so, intend or will or command in my perspective. I just know that it is very, very thin line between, one having the balance of knowing that they control the narrative of their anger and their issues and their, you know, whatever you call their whatever their shortcomings and things of that nature. We're in control of that. We define all of that. And because I'm like having to really stand on, the fact of me being responsible for everything that I'm going through, it made me really step back and look at it like, wow, this love thing really is the perspective of being able to channel forgiveness immediately. And like I said, I know how to do it now because I've had to be put in a place. I don't want to kill one of my sons because they think I'm playing about something, because I'm not playing about anything in his life. And I don't want one of my sons to think they have to try to kill me because they're afraid of what I might do to them. I'm not here for that. What I know I'm here for is to put as much love and peace and prosperity in the energy of what we're doing. At the same time, you have no control over how somebody sees something or how they receive something, especially when they are in the sense of dealing with the things inside of themselves. Because, yeah, I'm not attempting, nor would I want for anyone to be made to feel like they made to do something. Because you could ask mine. I started out like giving them the format of what I thought, the blueprint of what I thought. But since I've awakened, and it's been even before they've grown up to a point of overstanding will, I have come to the terms like, look, I love y'all. I want y'all to have the freedom of knowing that y'all are really creating this situation. We co-opted components here. I'm going to do everything I can to assist, but I don't have no control over how you actually see it. Now, when I'm saying certain things, it's only because my perspective of I've already physically gone through that in this 3D perspective. But now I'm seeing from the ninth ether being perspective, from the 5D up perspective. So I don't necessarily move the same way 3D because I realize the results of it. But that's what I'm here to share with them. That's what I'm supposed to share with everyone who comes into my consciousness. And I know that, but how you receive it, that is not on me. And because I realize it's not for me to be it's not for me to be apologetic. You know what I'm saying? It's not for me to be anything but unlimiting with mine, unconditional with mine, unwavering with mine. But that causes, I realize that causes, some kind of, dis-ease in some people's experience because they don't really, you know, if I'm talking to one of my young kings and they feel some kind of way, it doesn't matter what I'm saying, they're gonna feel some kind of way. It could be the sun or the moon's position. It could be the whatever they got going on in their own situation. It might be just what I say. They don't have to. It could be dead on. They could. It could be something we already spoke about, and they know that we came to an understanding or overstanding that that's pretty much best for the circumstance. And then we go back through it and actors go, oh, then we didn't even. I don't see it like that, and everybody's got the right to see it that way. But as it is, back to the main thing, I really feel like that forgiveness is the key. Just like to get to the love, the gratitude, intending, willing and commanding that, what is the main thing that you have in your heart, you shall receive. But to forgive, that trigger of forgetting is what's necessary to make that activate the love that's really open to our experience. That'll open up the whole thing. So I am going to, well, I'm not going to, I've already, claimed it. So it's in motion now to create energy that all it does is give people the heart and the wherewithal to know that it's cool to forgive and it's cool to forget. The faster you forget, you don't think about it, then you can really get over it. You'll start. I'm really sharing the facts. I get distant. I'm an only child. The minute you do something to me, I forgive you. I can forget easy. When I forget, I don't literally call you or nothing. I don't, because and it's not like I don't want to communicate. It's like I forget everything. I forget just to keep anything from coming back for me. I realize it's necessary for me. Some of us have a hard time accepting, what others do to them, especially when you've had to channel things and it's just, I get it. But forgiveness is a very, very big key. If the past no longer holds power to define people, what excuse remains for living anything less than free?
If you let go of the past And for some people, I'm not just talking about the past in this life, I'm talking about the past from past lives, because some people carry things forward from one life to another, to another, to another. So what they're letting go of can be hundreds of years of what they've experienced. When you let that go, it's like you're being reborn. And the potential can come forward. And you can see the opportunities, and you can see the greatness within you. Usually what we hang on to from the past are the mistakes. Most of the time, that's what people are hanging on to. So when you let go of that, you no longer have those mistakes that you have to keep making over and over and over. Because that's what we do when we hang on to a mistake. We make sure it's right there. So if I can see something that even looks like that might be that same mistake, I'm
We
going to say,
react.
come on over. I know you're part of my life.
We reactivate it. We
Yeah,
reactivate. We're the activators. Yeah.
yeah,
Recreating
over and
old things.
over and over.
Yeah.
You know,
And then
it's
in the
like
present
those
now, it
people
happens
who
just that.
it's like those people who keep finding the same partner. You know, it's a completely different person, but the asshole that you had in your last relationship, he looks different, but he's still an asshole because
Mm-hmm.
you keep bringing that mistake back.
Mm-hmm.
When you let go of all of that, then you have nothing but potential.
Yeah, that's
And
very true.
it's like when you go to the quantum field. At least for me, when I go there, I see potential. There's nothing there but potential. And then I make choices about which potential I'm willing to try out, have fun with, whatever terminology you want to use. And that potential comes into my life. So if you want to live more, to be more, to experience more, let go of the past so you can experience the potential in you.
Indeed. Indeed. Okay, so if you could speak to a version of yourself that's still trapped in the past, whether it be from this dimension or another, because you're right, those past lives, all of that stuff is, in my experience, I'm realizing that I've cleaned up a lot of stuff in this life. I've cleaned up a whole lot of stuff, and it has to be multidimensional past life, vibrational rhetoric that I'm still cleaning up. You know what I mean? It's not all bad. Like you know what I mean? It's like I'm coming to terms with a part that I didn't complete. Like you know what I'm saying? It's not like it's cleaning up stuff at the same time as stuff that was started in my obviously in my my field of energy at some point, and I just didn't complete it, and now I feel I'm here in this perspective, in this quantum, in this time or space to complete it as best as I can, so that like we were talking about when my mother cleaned up her karmic debts, to not have to do it again. I'm just having to do it while I'm physical and not in the in the bypass of the extension of transition or anything like. So I get it, and I got to see my mother go through it so that I could have that, have that as a reward and a strength to know that that's what it is. Because, like I said, you still try to, but whether it be in this dimension or another, what final words of strength or love would you offer to set them free?
I would encourage everyone to be aware, to become aware of what they are thinking, what they are feeling. And if it's something that doesn't bring them joy, then let it go. No matter what it is. And I'm talking about letting go of the emotions. Because when we are hanging on to the emotions, we are creating the situations and circumstances that are connected with those emotions. So if you let go of the emotions, then what you are creating changes.
Indeed.
So if you have something from your past you feel is incomplete, then forgive it. Forgive the situation, forgive everything that happened, forgive the fact that you didn't complete it, just forgive it all. And then you can decide where you want to go, what you want to experience, who you want to be. Because as long as you are still attached to those emotions, trying to fix it, you've still got that emotional stuff that's in the way. So you can't fix it because you haven't let it go. People forget that and they think, okay, I've got to hang on to what happened, what was there, so I can make sure that I fix it. But what happened has already happened. You can't change it. You can't undo it. You get to decide how you want your life to be now. Because you can't change the past. You know, it's an interesting place to go back and say, oh, well, I learned that lesson. And you let it go. Because that gives you the freedom to move forward. That gives you the freedom to do even more than you could have done in the past. Because you've learned so much more, you've grown so much more, you know yourself so much more. So your potential is really unlimited as long as you let go.
Okay. That's very, very rewarding to receive, and I totally appreciate from the perspective of love and appreciation and gratitude that you, like I said, that you take time or you hold space for us to share with us. And I appreciate the idea of, coming to terms with, just the honesty of, everyone having to come to terms with being honest with the fact that we do just need to come to terms with how we're created, us being the highest version of the creation, coming from the creation as a creation, and having the opportunity to be as we so choose, and undeniable, unapologetic, with no judgment. Like, you know what I'm saying? Realizing that it doesn't matter about any judgment. When you realize that the most high perspective of you does not judge you, it doesn't matter. But you have the power to recognize your position in all states of being. And when it comes down to you having the opportunity to be forgiving and sharing some kind of love perspective of especially when somebody's off balance with something. That's what I realized as well. Just when somebody's at their utmost lowest point, if you could, and they did something that's really kind of violating, if you could forgive them at that point, is when to me, it's like you get the most power to strengthen and to recover and to heal from. Because this is at the most, off balance places where people are expecting you to be a certain way. It's when you know that somebody's expecting you to go left, go right. You know what I'm saying? That's just what I realize. And that's what's helped me to be more of an influence and an inspiration to those who take me serious, those who sincerely connect with me. Because I realized something as well. You can love somebody, you could be with them all day, you could share your true heart's love with them. And it matters what their agenda is. It matters how they can see themselves to receive that. And if you're sincere about it, just keep being that, and it'll shine through. It'll allow you to be, protected or free from any kind of hangups when it comes down to that specific relationship or any more that come up in your experience. Because we just don't know. People, you say certain things out of the perspective of love, they take it totally different than what you even ever intended. And next thing you know, they got some kind of grudge is held, and you find out years later by some action that you just would not ever think that could be possible because you just can't find it. But then when you look at yourself and realize that the truth is everybody's not going to like you, they're not going to love you, they're not going to care about you, they're not going to be concerned about your wherewithal. They ain't gonna give a damn about nothing about you. You know what I'm saying? So when you come to terms with that and realize you're responsible for creation and can accept you as creation that can accept that, but you still know the power that you have when you speak in words and you doing things, then that's the power. And that's the power of the I am that I am source, and the me that I am. And I know I possess that. So that's that's the reason why we're here. So to hell with what they're talking about, to hell with the negative and low vibration, because that's what it is. If there's a hell, that's where it belongs. And since I don't believe in none of it, it doesn't exist in my experience. So, but knowing that we are the deciding factor, again, we are the deciding factor. Thank you for the forgiving, notes of knowing that we must be forgiving. We must be the ones to make the initiative of the initial state. Everyone be the first one that ask for forgiveness, especially if you know you're wrong. If you know the other person is wrong, if whatever you can find that feeling inside to just do it because you don't want to do it the most, do it. And you'll see it's going to shift the dimension of your perspective. It'll shift your position in this whole vibrational perspective. It'll shift the whole quantum for you. Because like you did say, yeah, in the quantum, you do have, look, you can go here, you can go there. Same thing in astral. Astral's a little different, but the quantum, like you said, it's like you can literally doom, 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 and bring it on back, and you can choose to bring it on back, high vibrational, low vibrational. And it's what you have, what we have access to. And people are jumping in and out of there all the time, daydreaming, thinking something stupid, and then bringing that negative energy back. Just came straight from the quantum, brought it back, and wondering why the rest of the day is all jacked up, or why everybody's opposing what you. So I've experienced it myself firsthand, so I'm a living witness. And I, again, am appreciative for this space, appreciative for this that you hold for us. Appreciate the space that you share with us, and knowing that it's from a perspective of the highest perspective of love that exists. And thank you again. We shall convene. We shall always be connected in the sense of the vibration being raised in this perspective of knowing, because that's what we agreed to. All is well, and I would love for you to have the final words of love and peace, and I give you the floor.
We would like to give you a very simple method of forgiveness. And you can simply pick what it is, and you can pick yourself. So we will use yourself as an example. I forgive myself. I forget what I've done wrong. I completely let it go from all of my existence, starting now. And so it is.
So it is. Indeed. Very well appreciated, and love. You are loved by the ancients, the ancestors, the loved ones, all of the ones that you impact. You know what it is. So thank you again, Barbara Grace. Much love to you.
And to you.
Always.